Recap of Steve 2025, in English, spoilers ahead. Overview and premise. Steve is a drama film directed by Tim Melantz, written by Max Porter, and based on his 2023 novella Shy. The story is set in the mid-1990s and takes place over roughly one day, 24 hours, at a residential reform school for boys in England, Stanton Wood. Steve, played by Cillian Murphy, is the head teacher or headmaster, leader, of the school, struggling to maintain order and protect the institution, even as it's threatened with closure, and he battles personal issues including his mental health, substance use, and internal pressure. Parallel to Steve's struggles, there is a student named Shy, played by Jay Likergo, whose past, emotional fragility, and violent impulses also come into focus. The film shifts emphasis from Shy in the original novella to Steve. Plot recap and key moments. Mourning and pressure at the school. The film opens with the daily chaos at Stanton Wood, fights among students, disruptive behavior, the constant strain on staff. Steve and his colleagues Amanda, Jenny the counselor, new teacher Shola try to keep things together. A documentary crew arrives that day to film a feature on the school, adding pressure and scrutiny. Their presence acts as both narrative device through direct interviews and internal stress. Early on, Steve receives shocking news. The governing trust that owns the school's property has sold the estate. The school is scheduled to close in 6 months, no warning, no gradual wind down. The students, staff, and Steve himself must face the collapse of the institution they depend on. That news weighs heavily on Steve. He is already under strain, and this news pushes him closer to breaking. To cope, he begins to rely on secret stashes of alcohol, pills, and other crutches hidden around the facility. Character interactions in Shy's arc. Shy, the student, is depicted as quiet, observant, vulnerable, less one of the loud troublemakers and more the one internalizing pain. He often listens to music, drum and bass tapes, headphones, to escape mental noise. That day, Shy learns that his mother has decided to cut him off. No more visits, no calls. It's a brutal emotional blow, especially for someone already in a fragile state. This intensifies his inner conflict and sense of abandonment. The film shows parallel breakdowns. Steve's external struggle to keep order mirrors Shy's internal struggle with identity and pain. They are two souls on edge. Midday escalations and violence. A pivotal scene is a cafeteria fight between students, Riley and Jamie, that spirals out of control. Jenny, the counselor, and Shola, new teacher, try to intervene. The chaotic, handheld camera work and intensity underline how volatile the environment is. Steve and other staff game plan how to handle escalating behavior, security, discipline, trying to quell fights before they break out. But with limited resources and deep emotional fatigue, solutions are shallow. Steve constantly juggles between disciplining, comforting, securing the institution, and hiding his own crumbling stability behind a veneer of resolve. Personal cracks and confessions. Steve's mental and emotional strain becomes more visible. He shows moments of unraveling, guilt, and longing for connection, particularly in interactions with his staff and students. Tracy Ullman's character, Amanda, the deputy head or close colleague, is a grounding force. She knows Steve's limits and supports him even as she sees him nearing breaking point. The staff Jenny, Shola also carry burdens, witnessing trauma, mediating violence, handling emotional fallout. The film portrays that the caretakers are also battered by the environment. Climax and emotional release. As the day advances, pressure reaches critical mass. Students demand attention, staff conflict, fights escalate, the closure deadline looms. Steve gives an impassioned speech to the boys. He wants them to see that there is something beyond the hurt, that the heartbreak, the trauma, the disaster, shapes new possibilities. He urges empathy, connection, and paying attention to each other. His message: pain can't be repressed forever, we must endure, together. The film ends with Steve saying, I want all of these lads to know there's something else, infinite things, that the disaster changes shape and it becomes tomorrow's joy, or whatever. In the final moments, he asks, it's enough, isn't it? A moment of self-acceptance, hope, and questioning whether they can survive with what they have. The ending groups the characters who have been deeply wounded, showing that although their pain doesn't vanish, they are bound by vulnerability, trust, and the possibility of repair. Themes and strengths. Vulnerability as strength. Steve frames vulnerability not as weakness, but as the pathway to connection and trust. The film suggests the strongest people are those who show their soft, wounded parts. Mental health and burnout. The portrayal of a teacher pushed past breaking, self-medicating, hiding pain, constantly performing, is raw and resonates. Institutional collapse and agency. The looming school closure symbolizes how society fails those most in need. The staff and students are strained by structural neglect. Dual protagonists, mirrored journeys. Although shifted from the novella, the balance between Steve and Shia is central. Their parallel suffering offers a mirror, a teacher and pupil both searching for meaning in trauma. Single-day narrative as pressure cooker. The one-day structure, like Steve showing one pivotal 24 hours, intensifies the stakes, forcing all conflicts to compress and demanding resolution or emotional release. If you liked it, subscribe to my YouTube channel.